right, guys, so this is your reading of the story that we are going to read for today. I'm just going to bring this up for you and we're just going to start. All right. So, La Festival Calabaza. I had lived on a farm in Mexico since the day I was born, and life was never what I would call easy. There was a lot of work to be done on the farm, and Papa insisted that we work together as a family. That part was nice. We did most things as a family. I had 3 brothers and 2 sisters, and our bond was much closer than that of most families I knew. In addition to my brothers and sisters, Tia Olga and my cousins lived nearby, and we saw them every day and worked together on the farm. All that changed about a year ago when my tia, that's Spanish for aunt, decided to move north. Drought had devastated much of the land where we lived, and Tia Olga could no longer support herself and her children. For years, she had made a living by making sweet corn cakes and selling them at the market. As the drought got worse and worse, however, my tia decided to move in with her husband's sister, Marta. Marta had a dulciera, a candy shop, and Tia Olga said she needed help in the kitchen. Everyone knew that Tia Olga made the best dulces in the world. The day my tia moved north was a difficult day for my mother. She and her sister had never been separated by more than a mile or so, and Nuevo Laredo seemed like a world away from our village in the far south of Tamaulipas. Papa had offered to let my tia and my cousins move in with us, but Tia Olga knew we had very little room and insisted that she follow through with her plans. Next page. Thank you, but no, my sister, she said to my mother. Marta needs help in the La Dulciera. I must go north and help her, she continued in Spanish. I must go there. I can be of some use. It is time to move on. I was saddened when my tia left and missed my cousins more than I could have imagined, but I had the feeling that we, too, would be moving north before long. There was no sign of relief from the drought and heat, and our distressed fields were nearly bare. My papa mentioned a few times that he might find work in Nuevo Laredo or Reynosa as well. I know a man there, he said, his words heavy with sadness, who was a zapateria. For me, to hear him utter those words was heart-wrenching. My papa loved to work the land and couldn't imagine him selling shoes in the zapateria. The days wore on, with no promise of rain, as if the heavens had shut their doors and refused to let even a droplet out. The corn had died and the beans were sparse, and Papa began to lose his last threads of hope. Every day he walked the fields with great sadness, as if we were preparing to leave them, until one day as I watched him from the window, I saw him fall to his knees. He kissed the ground and cried out to the heavens. When I ran to the fields to comfort him, I was shocked at what I saw. Look, las calabazas, my papa cried excitedly as he pointed to the ground. Despite the stubbornness of the heavens, the fields had awakened, and all in one small area, the earth sprouted pumpkins. It seemed nothing short of miraculous, but tiny seed pods sprang up from the soil. Oh, Papa, I see, I said, and pumpkins. We had never grown pumpkins before, so I wondered how they got there and to what we owed our good fortune. I desperately hoped against hope that they would produce enough so that we wouldn't have to move from our farm to the city. Recharged by this discovery, my papa began to research all about growing calabazas and became convinced that soon enough he could grow them as well as anyone else. He took the seeds from the calabazas and had grown in the field, and he planted them and cared for them. His study and tireless work paid off because before too long they started to grow. How can we have pumpkins with no rain? My mother asked, perplexed at night. My father assured her that we could afford to irrigate the field in the small area where the pumpkins grew. We can do it, he said to my mother with certainty, and my mother agreed that we had nothing to lose by trying. For the next few months, my father continued to care for his calabazas. We worked the soil and we watered it until the vines grew aggressively over the ground. To the surprise of all of us, the pumpkins flourished. By October, the field seemed to have exploded. We had more calabazas than we had ever imagined. We'd sold some of them, then we sold some more. Soon after, my mother started making empanadas calabazas. They made mouth-watering papudules too, and we made pepitas, lots of pepitas. My brothers and sisters and I overflew bags of pepitas, and we sold them at the nearest tourist market, where shoppers gobbled them up greedily. We need Tia Olga, my mother decided, and we need her now. Her sister could make empanadas calabazas better than anyone my mother knew. Yet Tia Olga had grown accustomed to her work at the Dulciera, and for the time being at least, she insisted on her. Tia Olga had an idea that neither my mother nor father had considered. I gotta switch the page for you guys. Here we go. Tia Olga had an idea that neither my mother nor my father had considered. A pumpkin festival, my Tia suggested. My father loved the idea of a pumpkin festival, or a Festival Calabaza. My mother agreed. Tia Olga promised that if they planned it, she could come home to help. Over the next 6 weeks, we made preparations for the festival. By day, my father and my older brother spent long hours in the field, while at night we planned the festival for the harvest moon, the day at which the moon would be its biggest and brightest. My younger sisters, Pilar and Elena, had signs to post in the streets and at the tourist market, while I had chosen something different to do. I had decided to make a pumpkin patch by clearing out a circular area of land on the side of our house and next to our fields. I carried hay from the barn to my pumpkin patch and spread it around on the ground. Then I rolled a few unused hay bales. I took the fencing from the garden and closed 3 sides of my pumpkin patch. Then I sat down on the hay bale and imagined what it would be like to be filled with pumpkins. In southern Mexico, the pumpkins come in all shades of green and yellow, orange, and even white. Once Tia Olga was convinced that we were working hard and carefully to prepare for the festival, she packed up her children, and just as she promised, they took the bus from Nuevo Laredo back home. She brought with her a recipe of dulces de calabazas, pumpkin candy from the Dulciera. A gift from Marta, she told Mama. Mama was visibly touched by the gift. She had never known Marta to give her recipes to anyone. She considered her dulces de calabaza her prize. Last page. All right. Thank you, Mother said, smiling with a delicate laugh in her voice, and I remembered from long ago and hadn't heard in ages. Mama and Tia Olga together made dulces de calabazas, while the rest of us carried pumpkins to the pumpkin patch and set up an impressive display. We carved some of them into jack-o'-lanterns, while Mama and Tia Olga made more and more dulces de calabazas. In the twilight, our whole family gathered in the cozy kitchen and made bags and bags of pepitas. We talked and laughed like old times, and we marveled at the thought of the seeds that had miraculously sprung from the seemingly barren ground. Mama said that the seeds were miraculous because they brought her so much joy. They allowed us to save our farm, and they brought her sister and her family back home. Tia Olga had to laugh because she was never good at keeping secrets for very long, and because Mama could read her like a book, she knew exactly what was on her mind. "You planted those seeds, didn't you?" she asked Tia Olga knowingly. Tia Olga had planted the seeds. I remembered then. It was sometime back in July, late at night when she thought all of us were sleeping. I was restless and unable to drift off like the rest of them. As I lay in bed thinking, I heard something in the yard. It was Tia Olga. I watched her from the window. I saw her planting seeds, and I heard her talk to them. Grow, little seeds, grow. Bring the family together again. Tia Olga must have had faith that the seeds would grow and flourish, and that evening would work, that everything would work out in the end, when she would bring her family back home to stay. When the rains returned, she knew that no future drought could harm what we had grown. We had grown both pumpkins and stronger family ties. All right, so that is your reading, and we are going to go out back to the reading comprehension page. So this is the worksheets for the paper. If you want to print those out and send me a email, this is your copy here. Okay, I'll go through. Make sure that when you go to copy that, you press view assignment, and then make sure you copy and paste it to that that assignment for you. Okay, so you are going to define the following words here: mention, sparse, delicate, restless, and then you're going to answer these questions here. Okay, I already started you off, so you should be okay to start them off. Okay, so you have your first close reading, and then you have your questions for your critical thinking. And then you have your character web. So you're going to give details about the different characters. So give a few details about Tia Olga, give a few details about Papa. All right. And then other than that, that's your whole assignment for today. Hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow.